and trillions of dollars, those people don't have the capacity to invest in a smaller project in Africa or in Ghana. So is they help you, help you walk along and to take you into a bankable project. So you have Example Network is a private financing advisory network, and also something right here in Ghana, which helps startups, which is the Ghana Climate Innovation Center. And one of the executive director from this is speaking on a panel today. So another one is that there's a lot of financial incentives available. If you read the press release that was released by UN, needs to come from the private sector, and that the development banks and all that, they're gearing themselves toward incentivizing the private sector. So make it significantly more attractive. So, and if you were looking for the kind of options that are out there, you'll see there's NEC Partnership Board, they have Climate Finance Explorer. Within the region, UNFCCC has some information about where to look for money. Okay? The decline of the solar and wind energy costs is that there's been a rapid decline, okay? And so much so, if you look down at the bottom, and that the now coal and oil and gas are more expensive than solar and wind. So this is also really can change the game on what gets invested in. The level of activity on their website is very small compared to what's needed. I remember when I was at COP24, they talked about we need about 6 times the number of projects happening, and that's happening right now in order to reach the Paris Agreement. So if the media was reporting on this and making many investors aware of these platforms and the different incentives that are available to them, this would get a lot more investment. And once this investment and interest in these platforms grows, I think project developers would come there very quickly. Okay, so I think that all the components are needed, that all the components are available that are needed, and that the only thing we have to have is more awareness for a lot more participants to be in this marketplace. So the conclusions are that there's an opportunity to emerge to the several different developments that have occurred simultaneously. So there's a real synergy that's going on. We have, I would say, likely the most important is the increased concern by the extremely wealthy investors. And that changes everything. There's considerable development and growth that facilitate investment. And finally, I would say that the media can play a major role. I would like to see that these conferences become a megaphone to reach out to investors and project developers around the world. I doubt that there's any online and check out what they should invest in. Thank you. Good. So you guys bringing that up? So I guess the first person is I'm going to introduce Lambert family, and I copied this from your page, but the bio of Mr. Donnelly is not there.
Intended the material waste, significantly we should be describing it as a resource We still kept calling it waste, and it has become something like thrown away and be utilized. But we have realized that instead of attention to money, when the money into Africa, we were running the Switch Africa Green Project on the industrial symbiosis. The SMEs looking at where there is source segregation of the materials and industry level to see whether we can map and match all those in whatever you want. You put it in there. A list of companies will appear as having those ones. They'll give you the volumes and they'll give you the price at which they're going to sell. And then out of that, there have been a number of startup industries. There are people who have upscaled. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, there are people who are importing waste into this country as, we put it in inverted commas, materials. When the same thing is with us, yet we are not being able to manage properly. So, why is that so? Looking at all the policies and the regulations, as concerning waste, that directly targets source segregation. It's a challenge for us in this country. Business. Scrap alone, which is taking place, scrap waste oil, alone is earning in this country over 100 million. Now, the four main kind of waste that we identified, and for which there is a lot of uptakers in this country. We have the plastic, we have paper, we have plastics, paper, we have wood, and we have waste oil. These are areas that we can actually explode and then make business. Using simple things in the SMEs like resource efficiency and cleaner production tools, we have been able to generate streams that interventions will really create money for the industry and for the banking sector. But unfortunately, the banking sector, they seem not to understand what resource efficiency and cleaner production is. And that the opportunities that are in there are comparable to this mobile money issues, like mobile money transfer that we have in this country, and let's say M-Pesa in Kenya. There is a huge potential in that particular area, but the banking institutions do not have the capacity to be able to develop products that these SMEs can absorb. And I think you just let him say, what the multinational funding agencies have is that projects that are dealing with very big issues, big money portfolios, this is not what SMEs can access in this country. Unless you are able to put them in a group, a huge group, but then you still need green people who can carry green investment portfolios. That is what we don't have. Then we also go to the data that is looking at this. If you look at solar, it is an area that we can easily project.
We're very short on time, so we have to keep moving here. So please close up because we're going to have to keep.
So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of big business opportunities in our private sector, in the SMEs, but that the banking institutions seem to fail to really, trigger so that at least there can be benefits on both sides. Besides, the gaps in our legal framework is what is causing the problem. The SMEs are crying. They need money to survive. They need money to upscale. Then I think the government bonds are some of the issues that we should look. We're very good at the bond market. Let us go for one bond that will be green and support these facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'd like to call on Daniel Risotto. He's the CEO of Climate Mundan and founder of Paris Climate Bond. And they're a very innovative group. And oh, by the way, we've only got about 3 minutes per person because they want to go to questions, and then we've got to get ready for the next session.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yes, I think, I mean, this question of aggregating projects is a very, very important one, actually, because, you know, the likes of the institutional investors, not only do they not want to engage necessarily with smaller projects, but they only want the projects, or they only want an exposure to the projects once they are operational and producing cash flows. So you actually, in order to engage institutional investors, you actually need an engine room of primary finance to finance the initial term-based management project or renewables or whatever. And that's the market data that you see time and time again across whether or Asia or wherever, Latin America. And so what we've tried to do with working with the UNFCCC Secretariat and also the Clean Development Mechanism Executive Board is develop a platform that allows us to do what we describe as warehouse with the primary financing. And then once there's a critical mass of projects which fits the characteristics that the international institutional investors want, then we refinance it, issuing what we call a Paris Climate Bond. And this Paris Climate Bond is different in a sense to, you call it your regular green bond, in the sense that these bonds deliver a mitigation outcome which is certified using the standards of the UNFCCC, rather than, you know, if you look at the green bond market, it's really, you know, people are using whichever standard suits them, and there's very little ex-post verification done, whereas with the approach we're taking, the host countries will be able to see exactly what mitigation was delivered using the UNFCCC standard, but also in relation to the projects. Aggregation is not something, I don't think project developers themselves should be necessarily thinking about aggregation. I think it's up to the intermediaries to develop the solutions. And if you look at it, in a sense, a bank is itself a warehouse. It's you know, taking on a whole portfolio of loans. Why not have dedicated lines for climate investment? And that's where we need to get, and that's what we, we are working with partners such as UNDP, which was mentioned earlier. We want to break through in this area and give everybody in Ghana, for example, or Africa in general, the opportunity to get that primary financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, so now I'd like to call on Gurbaz Gunel. He's Director of Country Support Partnerships at ARENA. Imagine it's coming up there. Do you want to speak here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can I have the presentation? All right. I was asked to show you a few slides for your better visualization of the work we are doing. In fact, Paul has already given some introduction to my presentation, which is about the project facilitation support, some of the instruments that IRENA has developed over years in order to support the development of project development, but also facilitate access to finance. But IRENA, for those who are not familiar, we are the Intergovernmental Renewable Energy Agency, bringing together governments. It's an intergovernmental, so around our constituency is around 160 countries, another 23 countries in the process of membership. So it's almost a universal organization. So our mandate is basically how to promote renewable energy deployment globally in a sustainable manner in all 6 renewable energy technologies. As part of this process, of course, IRENA also provides on-the-ground support to the countries to help them develop and implement their renewable energy strategies, agendas, and a part of this support is project facilitation. So as you see on the screen, there is for that purpose, IRENA has developed a suite of tools along the value chain of project development, starting from the concept development till the deployment of projects. And in this presentation, I'm going to focus on two specific initiatives that Paul mentioned, and I'll also give a teaser to a new initiative that we've initiated, and which will come online very soon for your information. Let me start with the Project Navigator. In fact, the Project Navigator is about how to prepare projects right, how to make them bankable. Because our observation is in many small and medium-sized projects, okay, they could be technically competent, but not necessarily competent on how to prepare bankable project proposals and the process for making them access to financing. So basically this it's an online platform. You can go and there's a learning project registration part. There are several tools available, the models, the checklists, etc., which will take you through different stages of project development to how to make your projects right. So far, as you see, we have, I can't read the screen, but quite a number of participants registered online and using to improve their project facility. But we don't do it only through the online platform, but we also provide an on-the-ground support, provide trainings, hands-on training on how to prepare projects right. And there are different modules for 8 technologies and end-use sectors. There is one for solar PV, another for wind, for woody biomass, there is for mini grids, geothermal, etc. So you can adjust your project development approach accordingly. So basically, through this platform, the idea is how to prepare projects and having a bankable project that you can take and go to finance. So there's another facility, and there's another online facility that IRENA has developed, which is called a Sustainable Energy Marketplace. In fact, it's a matchmaking platform. On the one hand, projects and project developers. On the other hand, financial. Total capacity of projects registered in Africa, it's around 40% of global registrations. It's quite high. Although the entire size is quite marginal, as Paul also underlined, but it's a growing platform, and more, especially small and medium-sized projects, is important because large-scale projects are there already visible and they know how to do it. But for small and medium-sized projects, it is difficult to get access to finance. We do 2 more things. We don't sit and wait projects registered and they meet with financiers, but we promote it. We help project developers to prepare pitch for financiers. We try to help them to review their project proposals and how to come up with recommendations, how to improve them, to identify gaps and make some recommendations on that. So it's an active effort made by IRENA on helping project developers to access the financing in affordable terms. And finally, this is a very recent initiative, open solar contracts, because our observation is that in many instances, contractual framework for renewable energy projects are not really up to date. Not up to date. There is one contractual framework which was developed for all technologies, which is usually based on conventional technologies. Which, for instance, when you look at the PPAs, they don't credit variability of solar and wind. So basically, they are punished. Solar and wind projects are punished with the templates, PPA templates developed by countries in many instances. So how to standardize the project documentation? We started with solar PV, and we will be expanding into other technologies, but basically those key documents, power purchase agreements, implementation agreements, supply agreements, O&M agreements, as well as a term sheet for financing. So we came up with this. And now it's the very final stage of development of this initiative, and we're hoping that those documents will be available publicly very soon. Thank you very much.
So thank you for that. And I'd like to now introduce Florian Mugabo. He's an M&E specialist with Fawana Fund in Rwanda. And he's here to take the position of Josephine Ubobeyo, who was going to speak here, but she couldn't come. So Florian, take it away.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. I'm called Florian Mugabo from Rwanda. I'm representing the Rwanda Green Fund called FONERWA. FONERWA is a French acronym which in all words means Fonds National pour l'Environnement au Rwanda. So that fund was established in 2013. We started with a seed capital of 22 million pounds. So
we supported market growth, attaining market growth and access to the right markets, not just in Ghana, but also across the region. And we have a very robust program of policy advocacy. Many of you here to the green invest and ready as much as we like, but if that policy environment is lost, achieved, we have a very robust process that underpins everything that we do. We take measurement very, very seriously because we're supported by the Dutch and the Danish government as well as the one. So achieve in that first 1.5 years of them, being with us. So in terms of revenues, cumulative revenues of all those two. Business.
For example, I think there's a possibility of. So we're back on. Okay, so with that, I guess we're going to move to the next panel. All right, thank you.
Another round of applause for the business midwives. They will help us deliver green babies, business babies. So thank you for that terminology. But this is just one phase of a two-phase section. And the next session is meant for the media to really pose questions to governments, ministries and agencies for us to have appropriate answer as to what is happening and what is being done. So this session will be moderated by Bernard Abler. He needs no introduction. And so Bernardino, I heard he was boogieing over the weekend. He loves Ghanaian music.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to invite my panel members to come up stage. We have Mr. John Palman, who's the Acting Executive Director of the EPA. Please put your hands together for him. We have Nana Osei, who's the Chief Executive Private Enterprise Federation. Please put your hands together. we have the Honorable Deputy Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Patricia Peje, MP. She's also MP for Asukwa in Ashanti region. And we have Mr. Kofi Bentil, who is the Vice President of Imani. He's a lawyer, he's a lecturer, he's a policy analyst and a consultant. All right, so this session is a bit interesting. It's stuck between a very long session and a snack break. And we are supposed to do two things. We're supposed to have a conversation among the four of them and also have a press conference, all within less than 30 minutes. So I need you to help me, pray for me to make this sensible. So my plan is to, of course, the broad question is how do we grow climate solutions globally, and how do we get the media to narrating what's happening? And it was a nicely framed question in the previous session slide of the moderator, so we think good material. So I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes to give us some introductory thoughts, and then I'm going to invite my media friends to help me question you, because we are localizing the solution and we have two levels of government. We have high-level government, deputy minister, who for this purpose used to run a whole city, Ghana's second city, Kumasi. She was the mayor of Kumasi, and the constituency is adjacent to KNU, which is the hub of innovation as well. We're going to hear from that high-level government, and then Mr. Puamang EPA is government implementing, because EPA is really the key implementing body within this embarration that you lead, and then Mr. Kofi Ben. So Mr. Puamang, give us a sense of your understanding of what government's target is for climate solutions, and there is the imperative of private sector investment. Just give us a quick sense of that in a couple of minutes.
Yes, thank you and good afternoon to you all. I will start by indicating that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change made a special report to the last conference of the parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And in that report, they indicated that for us to achieve the 1.5 degrees that we are all targeting, it will mean that we have to reduce our emissions by 45% from 2010 at the year 2030. So it means that by 2030, our emissions should have dropped by 45%. And this is quite significant. Many countries, in their NDCs, they have not set a target up to that. Ghana, for instance, we set a target of 45, but we need substantial inflows from private sector to enable us to achieve that. We said that we ourselves, in terms of our national resources, can achieve only 50%, and then when we get international private sector and development partner support, we will be able to drop it by a further 30 to achieve the 45. So this means that there is a need for substantial investment from the private sector, and I'm very happy about what the previous panel spoke about in terms of trying to bring in a lot of the private sector investment. We as government, all we need to do is to environment for such private sector investments to take place, and this is what I believe during the press conference we'll be able to give more insight into that. I want to stay within the 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. So, what targets has government set for this climate solution thing in Ghana, and what are some of the priority areas? Give us some more flesh on government's thinking around this idea.
Thank you very much. I think the targets that have been set as the indications of the NDCs, which has about 30 targets. But you all agree with me that climate change has really impacted negatively on people, ecosystems and livelihood. In Ghana, for which women and children are the most vulnerable in the climate change-related disasters and risks. For instance, a flood that occurred in the northern region, we had over 320 people who were generally affected, and then 258,000 hectare farmlands were destroyed. 45 water facilities were flooded, about 634. About 200 schools' classrooms were also affected. So you realize that in all these cases, women, children, and the aged are the most affected. And therefore, it is always important to look at how we can come up with programs that will assist in that direction. We've listened to a number of interventions over here, and I don't think any of the interventions that we had was GCIC programs. It's never gender sensitive. It is something that we need to be looking at, that a small number of women are currently handling climate change portfolios. And women in businesses are very few. So one of the areas that will help to support and to create awareness and to promote the entire agenda to ensure that we are gender sensitive.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister, for that dimension you've added. So let me come to Nana Osegusu from a private sector perspective. So everybody's talking about this is the time for private sector to invest in climate solutions or climate sensitive solutions. How clearly articulated is this? And what opportunities do the private sector see in this regard?
Well, I think for the private sector, the key thing that we need is information, knowledge. What is this? What is available? And then look at the various parameters as to the enablers government put in place, the economic indicators and the options for investment. Because a private sector investor, they have options to invest anywhere else. So if you want and looking for traction for them to do, you have to incentivize them, provide the risk mechanisms, provide avenues for investment that will yield returns that are predictable. Because for private sector, predictability is key. And the financial products that they can need and can use to do what they need to do. In our environment, the only financial product are loans. There's nobody going to do any meaningful investment with returns looking at loans as the only option of resources. We have to create a variety of financial resources, either grants, incentives, and other tax exemptions that will allow the private sector to go left instead of going right. And also, I think Paul mentioned something, scalability, the size, because we are MSMEs. And so for us to be able to tap into the global arena marketplace to take advantage of what we need to do, we have to aggregate. How do we get to the marketplace? Who holds our hand to aggregate and do what we need to do? So for the Ghanaian private sector, these are some of the difficulties we have. We need to be able to have guidance. The Private Enterprise Federation, of which I'm a member, is the enabler in providing the kind of knowledge and information. We, through the help of Ministry of Environment and Science, Technology and Innovations, and then the UNDP, created what we call Investor Guide. Anybody looking to do investment in the green arena in Ghana, if you take it, I think I brought a copy with me, but tomorrow we should have lots of copies of the Investor Guide to guide anybody looking to. But we want to go into the arena's marketplace and see what is there. And then we need the help of government, because you see, government is creating the enablers. Government is doing everything else. But then the kind of resources that allow private sector to test the market is very critical, because nobody is going to do the investment and not sure that the returns are going to be there. So for private sector, these are some of the things that we look for.
Thank you for sticking to time, and I appreciate all of you for doing that. I'm going to bring Kofi in, but I just want to know by a quick show of hand how many journalists we have in the building. If you are here as a media person, I see 1, 2, so quite a few, great. So after the final comment, we'll open the floor. These comments were to let you know who was on your panel to question. So your private sector questions, you know where to direct them, your government questions, and then other questions. Kofi, you wear many hats here. So I know you work one of the most effective think tanks in Ghana. You've managed to mainstream a lot of topics that didn't seem very exciting a few years ago. So of all the things you want to help me, how do we make this sexy? How do we make this a major issue for all the radio and TV stations to be talking about? Because I think that's the reason why we the media are involved. How can we carry this message of green solutions, the green economy, investing in things that sustain our environment in a way that will be effective?
Very well. That's actually what I wanted to comment on also. So it's like a continuum. It's a chain. It goes from one place to the other. I personally believe that the most important subsector of the human race are activists. Because when there's an issue and nobody is taking care of it, you will find somebody who puts themselves at risk to bring that issue to the fore. They could be on the streets, they could be holding placards, they could go and invade some place or whatever it is. They are disruptive in the beginning, but they will put the issue on the front burner. The environment has seen some of those things. But activists do not deliver solutions. Activists don't deliver solutions. I'm an activist, and I understand where we stop. Solutions in this area, in general in policy, will be delivered either by governments or by the private sector. These are the two vehicles through which you deliver solutions. If you put it in this context of environment, we have done a lot to bring this environment issue to the front burner. But the solutions will have to come through governments taking action, which are very we went and studied. I was there and we studied that program for a while. You have the Greens in Germany who for years campaigned only on the environment. And nobody thought they were going to come to power. And then they came to power. And when they came to power, they took the extreme step of saying they were going to transit the whole of the German economy onto green energy. And they've been doing it for a while now, for a number of years. They don't care they don't care who is benefiting or who is losing, and they are not bad. It's because they have to defend and protect their investment. They care for return on investment. And you have to show them how this makes money. Now, some people think there is no return on investment with environment. It's not true. You just have to manage the process and make sure that you can make that work. So activists now have to join with consultants, okay, to make the business case, because there is a business case for the environment. Now, when you make the business case, you realize that because when you have skin in the game, they know you're not going to let them down. But the trick with TAP is that the government money was very expensive. So whatever they were going to invest in, a lot of that money was going to be taken by the government because of their investment. What it means is it gives the private sector operators an incentive to buy the government out once it's been proven that the business is profitable. I'm compressing a lot of things because of this time. Yeah. That's the same approach we need to use. After activism, get a consultant to make the business case. Then you need to find, if it's a venture capitalist, you still have to show them the return on investment. If it's going to be a government, so be it. But then you get that traction. When the return on investment is clear, the private sector will come in. And if you give them the room, they can actually buy you out and continue. So in unpacking this, I hope we can fix this structure and take it from just thought to action.
Brilliant stuff. Please put your hands together for the panel. A quick comment on what you said. What would be useful for us in the media, for example, if we knew a list of impact investors, right? So the Acumen Fund is one, and green returns are very important these days. So how many impact investors do we have in Ghana, or how many investment products take cognizance of then bring them into the conversation? Because a lot of the discussions on the financial sector are focused on just traditional banks. They are the only people who occupy the space. So if we want to change people's see money differently into the conversation. So I'm going to open the floor now. The quick way we're going to go around this is you mention your name. My name is Bernard Able. I work at CTFM, and then you can say whether your question is directed to the Deputy Minister or to whoever. And we're going to take one question per media person. So Madam there and the gentleman next, please put on your mics. Go ahead.
My name is Lydia Kukwa Samoa. I work for the Ghana News Agency. I have one question to ask the private sector rep that are here. My question is simple. I just want to know whether the private sector is ready to partner government to implement the NDCs. And then do they have particular areas that they want to partner. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it simple. Yes, sir. The next one.
Hello, my name is Nana Punidachman from Daily Graphic. Yes, on my appearance at the AICC, that's Accra International Conference, I've realized that organizers have done a lot of disincentive to those attending the conference. One thing I realized that there was no conscious effort to put in place to make the whole event green and sustainable. Unlike COP23 I attended in Bonn, you realize that the German government and the private sector partnered to make the whole event for over 25,000 participants very sustainable and green. There were bicycles, there were dustbins, encourage people to do waste segregation. There were dispensable, and each participant was given a bottle of water to fetch water. To refill.
Yes.
Refillable cup. And that reduced the amount of waste that entered the natural environment.
Yeah.
It is contrary seen witnessing here.
Yeah.
Go up there where we took our snack and coffee break. A lot of trash. I don't know what happened.
So that's a statement or is that a question?
It's a question.
Okay.
I want to know why they failed
Why
to make this whole
Brilliant.
event climate smart.
Thank you. So I'm assuming the government. I think we can take one more for this round. Yes, sir, the gentleman at the back.
My name is Issa Mohammed from Daily Guide. My question would be was, I would like to know if there is climate impact assessment on the Etiwa forest when the government decided to sign the Sino-Hybrid Law on bauxite with the Chinese. Yes, and what is the outcome of that?
Thank you. So Nana Bonsu, is private sector ready? What areas are you focused on? Deputy Minister, why is the event not green? EPA boss. So I'm allocating now. So Nana, you go first. Thank you.
The lady who asked if the private sector is willing and ready to partner government, yes, indeed we are. And I just demonstrated that we work with MESI and UNDP to develop the private sector investor guide. So we are more than willing and ready. And there are no sectors that we wouldn't touch. The only problem is the risk inherent in that sector. And if we have the risking mechanisms, funding mechanisms that would allow us, as Kofi indicated, to create a return, definitely. No investor goes to lose money. So private sector will definitely undertake and get involved in any investment angle in the renewable, in the green economy so far as the returns. And there are a lot of risks involved.
All right. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister. You outsource the question to. Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Kwaman.
Yes. I don't know which question, but I will take the Etiwa one. Let me take the Etiwa one because I know that it's quite dear to everybody's heart. You know, it's recently that the government just put in place the board for the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation. I think you all saw it in the news. So before they can go ahead to start any kind of intervention in that area, they have to come to EPA. So that is yet to start. So let me just say that we have not yet received any application by any company or by this particular corporation to mine bauxite in Etiwa. And we will wait until we receive that, then we'll go through the assessment process. And the assessment of this kind of project will involve public participation, what we normally call the public hearing. We'll start this Etiwa assessment with the public hearing, so that all the issues that I know will come up from the media and which are already brought onto the table, and then we'll all look at them and find...
Just a quick follow-up. So are you saying that if the assessment comes to a conclusion that it's not sustainable to mine, you can stop the process? Because this process has already... where you are placing the assessment, I'm assuming, based on my ignorance, that the assessment is basically like a baseline that you do at the beginning. But where you have placed the assessment, it looks like government already decided to do it. So the assessment result notwithstanding, government is going to do it.
You see, the establishment of this Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, already means that there is intention to go ahead with this kind of project. But then what we'll do is that the assessment will have to indicate what needs to be done to enable that kind of project to be done in a sustainable way. This is what it is.
Yeah, but that's different. Excuse me. It's like you are. Can I have the microphone? You are, and sorry, I'm belaboring this, but it's a big issue. If you want the media support in something like this kind of issue should be clearly defined. You are essentially saying that whatever happens, the project will happen. So now the assessment becomes more advisory. It's not. It's absolutely problematic.
I can't say that as the head of an environment agency. What I'm saying is that there are proposals by government to mine bauxite in the Tijuana. I think we are all aware of this proposal. So as an agency, we are going to make sure that if this has to be done, certain things have to be put in place. If those things are not put in place, it will not be possible. But we know that we have got examples of such kind of things going on in various parts of the world. And we know in Brazil they are doing mining of iron ore in the Amazon. And it is being done without any effect on the Amazon River. So don't let us feel that it's not possible to mine bauxite in the Tijuana. It is possible to mine bauxite in the Tijuana in an environmentally sound manner.
I'm very sure the media will create a platform for this to be thoroughly discussed. Thank you, because there are other issues to be discussed. Just a quick comment from anybody on the panel on the daily graphic gentleman's question.
We accept what we have said. We have done our part in terms of bringing Zoom Lion to collect waste. But our system, those of you who were here in the previous panel, you realize that we are still struggling with the plastics. We have the plastic waste policy which has just been adopted, and now we are coming up with strategies to implement certain interventions. So you find that we are still at the stage where the disposable paper cups are still not very popular in the system. But we have Zoom Lion, to make sure that all waste that is generated is collected and so forth. And then the budget didn't allow us to give everybody, a bottle. But in future, these things will be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
So we acknowledge and we accept your contribution.
Thank you. Quick comment.
So on the interest of private sector, I just want to report that yes, there's a lot of interest from the private sector. I am on a project now where private sector operators are even international partners to put up a solar factory here, because somebody has, come in between and clearly made it, a profitable business for them. All right, so there is evidence to that effect. I'm not sure whether I can mention, should I? No. Okay. I'm looking at somebody's face.
You can consult and discuss. Yeah.
It's the UNDP actually. So right, the UNDP, they work with the government a lot, but this time they are working with private sector partners. They've created a situation where the private sector is interested in this, and we are working hard to make sure it works, because the business case has been proven as a credible intermediary.
All right. So there's no question on this line, right? Fine. I don't want to stick to only this part. 1, 2. Anybody at the back? 3.
Okay, my name is Gana Shago. What Director John just said, I find it outstanding. Is he saying, let's say me, okay, I know somebody who was interested in setting up a cement factory. You have to go to the EPA for environmental impact assessment. They told this gentleman that based on the result of the assessment, you will either be given approval or not. Because the mandate of the EPA is to protect the environment, not to rubber stamp those projects. So are you saying that because it's a government project, whether the impact assessment says that it is not feasible or it's harmful, you will still mitigate it?
Mr. Ashaba, what media house are you from?
Excuse me?
What media house are you from?
I'm a private citizen.
Okay. Actually, that's fine. A couple of quick points. The press conference is, by definition, a press conference. And it is on the, we don't just this issue. we've had a long discussion from morning about private sector finance in all these things. So I want to encourage us to tailor our questions to the purpose of the question. I do know that this is a legitimate issue which we can discuss on a different platform. So I'm going to overrule that question on the basis that it's delivering one point, right? So I'll take Mr. Chinua. I'll take your question next, since you are sitting next to me.
Thank you very much. The name is Justice. He's already mentioned my media house name. I would like to know private sector participation, whether it's limited just to perhaps the financial commitments you are going to make to the government's efforts for going to participate in it, such that because businesses, investors that come into the country register as members of some of these private sector business groups like PEF, like Chamber of Mines, etc. Are you going to participate in it such that you ensure that your members don't carry out activities which are inimical to, Ghana's climate and Ghana's environment? Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Clement Akolo. I report for African News Radio. I would like to begin by commending the Deputy Minister for mentioning that women have been relegated to the background, and actually is the case. I'm sure that she's trying to do something about it or less about it. But I want to further move the discourse forward by, pardon my ignorance though, but it looks like this climate change conversation that we're having is centering on businesses rather than looking at the solution of cutting emissions. Are this actually going to solve the problem that we are looking at emissions? That's what I want to ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll take the final. Mr. John, I want you to answer this question because it was part of your introductory comments, so please elaborate on that.
All right, my name is John. The process of being to Germany. As an activist and being part of a project or finding a solution to climate change, are we able to identify in terms of localizing we should finish and there will still be a lagging side for us to come back to again? Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Well, I think the issue is not no private sector. So definitely our rules of engagement from the private sector perspective is engagement in partnership. We don't want foreign direct investors to come in and do everything, repatriate the profits home, and then what is one of the areas that we've been advocating for private sector to lead in that environment to cut our carbon emissions to the 2 degrees that we're talking about. That is private sector opportunity.
So thank you. So if I understand your answer, his point was that your commitment is beyond financial. There are other commitments beyond just the money. And you're saying yes.
Yes, indeed, because if we invest in farming, commitment is not only financial, because if the farming doesn't become viable, obviously you look at. So
and that is what we have to do. And once we have the ministry.
Because created but in Ghana, it means a different issue. You say, if you have a conference and you say you are how do you fund NDC? And you invite we have to tweak it. National contribution determined. Just for Ghana. So we didn't rush now. Kofi, you have the final word because of time. And I suspect these people will be around at the end for specific interviews at the end. Kofi, somebody wants to know whether we define the problem properly.
Right, it's a good question. So in this context, however, there's a nuance to it. One, on the general problem of the environment, on the national level, one, our contribution to the world, that is Africa, Southern America, we are the carbon sink of the world. We are not part of the problem so much because we are not that industrialized. But we are the carbon sink of the world, and we should learn not to become part of the problem. That is something we need to do. And we have an EPA. The EPA is very competent, and they can do their job. Two things, if they want to do it, and if the government will allow them to do it. I used to work in the EPA, and I have no doubt that they can do the job. Now, the law actually allows the EPA. Okay, let me go ahead. The law as we have it today is said that the EPA is suffered to stop the government from if in their professional competent conclusion that project is not sound environmentally. I said two things: if they want to do their job and if they will be allowed to do their job. The EPA is one of those institutions. NCCE, because of time you don't clap. NCCE is independent. CHRAG is independent. You have all kinds of independent institutions. The EPA should be independent. Because if my boss here decides that he's going to talk about the TY in some funny thing, so that we should take care.
Thank you very much. So in summary, I think we are very clear that the private sector has a very important role to play and we need the money. Private sector say they are ready, but they want diversification. It's not just bank loans. I sense from the media questions that we are very interested as media, and we're going to make this a main issue. We are not going to report on the back pages. We're going to bring people who think different onto our platforms. We're going to do meaningful stories about how private sector investment is helping us achieve our goals for anything at all for the sake of our children. So a big thank you to the panel, Kofi Bentil, Honorable Appiah, Mr. Nana Bonsu, and John Foreman. Thank you very much.
Wow, 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 wow. Another round of applause. For the first time in a very long while, I've witnessed participants at the forum very active after lunch break. You know? Very active participants after a lunch break. And that shows that we are all interested in some financing for our NDCs.
Please give me a picture.
You are waiting. We will have a 5-minute networking break because most of the people, the panelists who spoke about financial outcomes are stepping out of the hall, and we want you to be able to interact with them. So please catch them, make sure that especially